Next up on Most Infamous Serial Killers, we have Chester Turner. Chester Dwayne Turner was born on November 5th, 1966, and he's an American convicted serial killer. On April 30th, 2007, he was convicted of the murders of 10 women in Los Angeles and was also found guilty in the death of the unborn child of one of the victims. He was then convicted of 4 additional murders on June 19th, 2014. Chester was also known as the South Side Slayer, and prosecutors have called him one of the most prolific serial killers in the city's history. Chester was born in Warren, Arkansas, and moved to Los Angeles with his mother when he was 5 years old after his parents separated. He attended public schools in Los Angeles and dropped out of high school. Working for Domino's Pizza as a cook and delivery person as a young man, he lived with his mother until she moved to Utah. After that, he moved around to different homeless shelters and missions. As is common with serial killers, many of the women that he killed were sex workers. Chester has been sentenced to death twice, once on July 10th, 2007 when he was convicted of the original murders, and then again on June 26, 2014 when the 4 additional ones were added. He is currently still alive and resides on California's death row.
Hey, my kings and queens, blessings to you. This is Chester Turner, also known as the South Side Slayer. He was born November the 5th, 1966. He is an American convicted serial killer. On April 30th, 2007, he was convicted by the murder of 10 women in Los Angeles and was found guilty of the death of the unborn child of one of his victims. He was convicted of 4 additional murders on June 19, 2014. His span of crime went from 1987 to 1998. Most of his victims were sexually assaulted and strangler. And right now he's on death row. Okay, all right, toodles.
The following story contains descriptions of graphic violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome back to Sleeper Cell 41. Join me on a journey into the chilling case of the Southside Slayer. Let's delve into the pursuit of justice and the poignant story behind this investigation. This is the case of Chester Turner. Chester Turner spent much of his adult life homeless prior to his capture. He spent some time in prison for unrelated crimes during his murder spree. In 2002, Turner was sentenced to 8 years in prison for raping a woman earlier that year. While incarcerated, DNA analysis implicated Turner in numerous unsolved murders and rapes. He was sentenced to death in July 2007 for 10 murders, and sentenced to death again on June 2014 for an additional 4 murders. He was also found guilty of the death of the unborn child of one of his victims. Prosecutors have called Turner one of the most prolific serial killers in the city's history. Turner was born on November 5th, 1966, in Warren, Arkansas. He moved to Los Angeles with his mother when he was 5 years old, after his parents separated. He attended public schools in Los Angeles and attended Locke High School until dropping out. Working for Domino's Pizza as a cook and delivery person, as a young man, he lived with his mother until she moved to Utah. After that, he moved around to different homeless shelters and missions. In 1992, Turner began dating Felicia Collier, with whom he had 1 child. Turner has fathered a total of 4 children with separate women, several of whom were raised by his mother after his arrest. Turner was jailed multiple times in the 1980s and 1990s for theft and drug possession, first from 1987 to 1989, then 1989 to 1992, and from 1993 to 1995. In 1995, he was arrested and later convicted for car theft. He was then jailed for assault on an officer and cruelty to an animal on April 9, 1997. DNA evidence has linked Turner to the murders of 14 women, most of which occurred in a 4-block-wide corridor that ran on either side of Figueroa Street between Gage Avenue and 108th Street, and several outside this corridor in Los Angeles County. Turner's first confirmed murder victim was 21-year-old Diane Johnson. Her body was found on March 9, 1987, by 2 passing motorists on a roadway construction area west of the harbor. She had been raped, strangled, and stripped of her clothing. In June 1987, the body of 33-year-old Elandra Joyce Bunn was found nude laying in a pile of trash. Her body had been discovered by 11-year-old Alvin McThomas. An autopsy showed that Bunn sustained battered and bloody eyes, abrasions and lacerations on her head and neck, and bruises on her neck and
Part
torso.
2. The disturbing case of
On
Chester
October
Turner
29,
Part 2.
1987, the body of 26-year-old Louisiana native Annette Ernest was found lying on the shoulder of the road, partially nude and strangled. She was the daughter of Mildred White, who was friends with Jerry Johnson Triplett, the mother of Turner's fifth victim, Andrea Triplett. No other murders that are linked to Turner occurred in 1988. In January 1989, the partially nude body of 31-year-old Anita Fishman Breyer was discovered outside a garage in an alley off Figueroa Street. Her nephew described her as upbeat and happy. Her sister, Suzanne, was trying to help her through her struggle with addiction. On September 23, 1989, the partially nude and strangled body of 27-year-old Regina Nadine Washington was found inside a garage off Figueroa Street. Washington was 6 months pregnant, and the death of the fetus, referred to as Baby Washington, was attributed to the mother's strangulation and was ruled a homicide. On November 16, 1992, the seventh known victim, 32-year-old Deborah Williams, was found dead in the 400 block of West 98th Street in Vermont Vista. A month later, on December 16th, the body of 41-year-old Mary Edwards was found on the 9700 block of South Figueroa Street in Vermont Vista. In April 1993, the strangled and partially nude body of 29-year-old Andrea Triplett was discovered behind a vacant building on Figueroa Street. Although she was 5.5 months pregnant at the time, California law did not consider the fetus viable, so Turner was not charged with its murder. A month later, on May 16th, the body of 29-year-old Desiree Alamay Jones was also found strangled and partially nude in a backyard. Her brother Frank described her as smart, outgoing, and funny, and stated that before succumbing to her addiction, she worked at a rest home for the elderly. David Allen Jones, a part-time janitor, was arrested for the murders of Williams and Edwards, along with the third murder, that of Tammy Christmas. Jones, who was barely literate, was questioned about an attorney and admitted using drugs with the victims in the areas where their bodies were found. Jones was convicted of the murders in 1995 and was sentenced to 36 years to life in prison. Jones had also been convicted of a rape unrelated to the murders during his trial. On February 12, 1995, the nude body of 31-year-old Natalie Joan Price was found next to a vacant residence in Vermont Knolls. She had too been strangled to death. On November 6, 1996, the body of 45-year-old Mildred Williams Beasley was found partially nude and strangled amongst the bushes alongside the 110 freeway. Beasley, originally from Michigan, was married and had a teenage son. In February 1997, 30-year-old Cynthia Annette Johnson was found strangled to death in the Green Meadows neighborhood of South Los Angeles. On February 3, 1998, 38-year-old Paula Donnell Vance was found in the Olympia Tool business in Azusa. Portions of her murder were taped by 5 nearby security cameras, with the killer visible in several frames as a dark shadow and little more. One camera that police confiscated would have filmed the killer's face, but it cut away moments before he was in frame.
The disturbing case of Chester Turner Part 3.
Would have filmed the killer's face, but it cut away moments before he was in frame. Vance suffered from mental illness and was a transient. On April 6, 1998, the body of the final victim, 39-year-old Brenda Bryce, was found strangled in a portable toilet near Little Tokyo. She was found just 50 yards away from the hotel where Turner was staying at the time. By March 2002, Turner was working as a security guard at a downtown Los Angeles homeless shelter. That same month, he sexually assaulted 47-year-old Maria Martinez. He had approached Martinez before the attack to ask to borrow a cigarette lighter and proceeded to grab her neck and essay her for approximately 2 hours and threatened to kill her if she told the police. Turner pled no contest to rape later that year and was sentenced to 8 years in prison. He was incarcerated at Sierra Conservation Center in Chilomon County. Turner was required to give a DNA sample to California's Combined DNA Index System as a part of his prison term. In September 2003, based on that sample, Turner was identified as a match for DNA recovered from the murders of Vance and Bryce. After that, detectives began an examination of Turner's background. By October 2004, 10 more unsolved murders of women were matched to Turner using DNA evidence. Turner was arraigned on December 22, 2004, on 10 murder charges and pleaded not guilty. During the investigation of these cases, detectives also reviewed similar solved cases. In doing so, the detectives found that David Allen Jones, now age 28, had been convicted of the 1992 murders of Tammy Christmas, Deborah Williams, and Mary Edwards. The latter two had now been linked to Turner via DNA. Rather than using these convictions as a basis for excluding Turner, the detectives reevaluated the physical evidence, and the detectives found that Jones' 1995 trial had relied upon other evidence, including Jones' coerced statements to police, instead of DNA analysis. At the detectives' request, the LAPD Crime Laboratory processed the available evidence using the latest DNA applications. Although DNA analysis cannot be used to reinvestigate the Christmas murder, prosecutors and police are confident that Jones is innocent of the Christmas murder and that Turner is the likely culprit. Jones had also been convicted of a rape unrelated to the murders during this trial. He had served out his sentence for the 2000 rape conviction. The new investigation revealed that the blood typing evidence did not match the blood types found in the crimes for which he spent 11 years in prison, and he was acquitted as a murderer. Jones was released from prison in March 2004 and filed a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles. Jones was awarded $720,000 in compensation. Turner was convicted of 11 murders on May 10, 2007, and sentenced to death on July 10, 2007. In February 2011, Turner was charged with 4 additional murders, those of Cynthia Johnson, Elandra Bunn, Mary Edwards, and Deborah Williams. Authorities said that DNA linked Turner to the killings. On June 19, 2014, Turner was convicted of those murders and received another death sentence on June 26, 2014. The California Supreme Court heard a September 2020 automatic appeal in the case. On November 30th, 2020, the California Supreme Court reversed Turner's murder conviction for the unborn baby. However, the death sentence for the other 14 victims was upheld. Before Turner's identification, the killer was nicknamed the South Side Slayer, a name also used for several other serial killers active in Los Angeles around the same time as Turner. On June 14, 2024, Turner was charged in the 1998 murder of Etisha Camp in Salt Lake City, Utah. He is currently on death row at San Quentin State Prison.
Follow for more content.